Know this.
Girls on the avenue, they're trying to get you in, strolling by with a rosebud smile. They're all dressed up.
With a career spanning more than 4 decades, the music of Richard Clapton has been part of the Australian music scene for about, 4 decades and since the 1970s. To celebrate his critically acclaimed new album, The House of Orange, Richard Clapton is hitting the road again for a 2017 national tour. Richard's on the line. Welcome to KC Radio, Richard.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. What about yourself?
Excellent.
You're back on the road again?
Oh, I am on the road. I'm on the road today, actually, doing promo.
You're a busy day today, haven't you? Very, very busy. We've got this interview, got one to the ABC, and lots of things happening today for you.
It's been a busy week, actually.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
How's the new album going, by the way?
Really well. I mean, it's been really well received because I think there was a lot of interest because I did it in Nashville. But the reviews on it have been great so far.
I love the songs on it, mate. I really love it.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. Some
glad you like it.
Wonderful tracks on there. Wonderful.
Yeah, great. So this tour, I start at Twin Towns on the Gold Coast in about a week's time.
Right.
And after that, I do the State Theatre in Sydney. And then on the 16th, I'm down here at the Forum, down in Melbourne.
A good venue, yeah. You've been to the Forum before, I think, haven't you?
No.
You haven't played there?
It's been
okay.
refurbished, have it?
Yes, it has.
I believe.
Yes, it has. I haven't seen it since the refurbishment, though.
It's supposed to be fantastic.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. I think you'll love that. Tell us about those early days of your career. 1965, you have a band called the Darktown Strutters you formed, didn't you?
Probably. I'm not sure. If you're getting things out of Wikipedia, don't believe a word you read. I know that they were calling the German band Bitch.
Oh, really?
And I was back in Germany a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And all the Germans are saying, where the hell do they get that?
Goodness gracious.
Never heard of it. It was actually called Sop with Camel.
Yeah.
The band we had.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about those early days. Did you have formal training, Richard, into what you were doing? Did you ever see yourself as being a pop singer?
No, I originally wanted to be a graphic designer, so I went to London when I was very young.
Yeah.
And I went to an art school called St Martin's in the Field. But then I was away. While I was away, I became quite obsessed with Bob Dylan, and I thought that's what I want to do with my life. So after a couple of years in London working in art studios, I changed horses in midstream. Right. And became a starving musician instead.
Well, look what happened after that, eh?
Yeah.
Just went on. How many people do you hear of who do that, like you've just done? You have, you set out to do a uni degree or whatever it happens to be, but then you take a side step into opera, pop music, whatever it happens to be, and your life just goes in a different way, doesn't it?
Oh, I think there's a lot of them. I know Mental as Anything were art students.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I can't think of any others offhand, but I'm sure you'd find a lot of rock musicians came out of art school.
Absolutely. I've interviewed quite a few of them here, and even some solo artists too. It's been marvellous over the time. You mentioned Bob Dylan there. The Stones, were they an influence on your life too? Yeah,
and definitely the Stones. Back in those days, you were sort of grouped into tribes. And anyone my age will remember it used to be the Beatles versus the Stones. So you'd either be a Stones fan or a Beatles fan.
That's
right.
I
was a Stones fan.
I was a Beatles fan.
Oh, well, you definitely.
Yep. So that's the 50-50 you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. And look, I don't know what it was about it. Perhaps it was just the music or something, or the hairdo. I don't know. But I was a Beatles guy, and a lot of my friends were Stones fans. So yeah. What about mentors in your life?
Do you mean like the Jackson Brown connection?
Yes, yeah.
That type of mentor?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Jackson Brown happened because there was a guy, a legendary radio announcer called George Wayne,
right,
who was on the original Double J. And George actually came back after about 10 years in LA where he was working on K-Rock. So George was really, he was actually, real buddies with Jackson Brown and Little Feat and some amazing people. And so George sort of connected me up with, especially Jackson Brown and Bob Dylan. And Jackson did really help me out. When I went to LA in 1979, Jackson opened a lot of doors for me there. So, I've had I've had some marvellous relationships in that way, because I did a 6-week Neil Young tour in the mid-'80s, and, you know, I've sort of been around a lot of pretty amazing people.
Richard, tell me how the song Girls on the Avenue came about.
Oh, that's the myth that I've been trying to explain for many years. But it's because when Girls on the Avenue was at the top of the chart in Australia, I was playing a gig in Adelaide, and all these working girls walked into the room, and they were all sort of shouting out, you know, about time somebody wrote an anthem for us. And I couldn't understand what they were talking about.
Right.
And my band and my roadies all went, well, you know, they're street girls, they're working girls. And I didn't really get it. But at the time, the manager I had said, oh, no, let that myth grow out there, because sex sells.
Yeah.
And,
And that's how it happened.
Yes.
What about Capricorn Dancer? That's one of my favourites.
Capricorn Dancer was written for a surfing movie called Highway 1.
Yep.
And I actually wrote that to the daily rushes, which is, you know, all the rough cuts that they do on the day, and they look at it at the end of the day. So that's literally the pictures that I was looking at while I wrote the song.
You've been described as one of the most important Australian songwriters of the 1970s. How do you feel about that?
I don't know about just the 70s, because I'd like to think that I've done a lot of work, you know, in the last 30 years as well. But I don't know. I mean, I guess because Goodbye Tiger seems to be the main focal point of Richard Clapton, so I think that's what that means. And so, you know, I accept that mantle graciously.
Inducted into the ARIA Hall of Fame, that must have been an honour too.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that was presented to me by In Excess, who I've had a long relationship with.
Well, you did work with them, didn't you?
I did their second album.
Yeah,
I produced their second
you were producer. That's
album.
right. Yeah.
And since then, I mean, they've done a lot of stuff with me. John Farris is has been my best friend for a long while. John plays on nearly all my albums, and he's done 3 or 4 state theatres. This is my 10th year at the State Theatre. And, actually, Johnny's done a lot of gigs with me over the years. So it's great, because that's an enduring friendship that's lasted for over 30 years.
Tell me about the new album now and how the tracks came about, please.
Well, that came about because there was a guy called Mark Moffitt, who's originally from Queensland, and he worked with me on my album Dark Spaces, which is the album that has High Society and Get Back to Shelter on it.
Yeah.
And that was in 1980. After that, Mark went on and he did the really big Tim Finn album with Fraction Too Much Friction. And he had a hit with the Monitors, and This Is Where I Turn It Around on You. And the Monitors single was called I'm Asking You.
Uh-huh.
You see, you don't know.
There you are.
Nobody knows.
No.
It's so sad, isn't it? What will we be singing in the 80s? He and his mate Ricky Guitar, they did it as a joke, and it ended up being this massive hit single. It's funny about one-hit wonders, isn't it? You can remember.
There you are.
But look, Mark moved to Nashville over 30 years ago.
Right.
And he's very well connected.
And that was the connection with you then to go to Nashville?
Yes, yeah. And Mark had been urging me to, get across to Nashville, especially because of the Americana scene. He's really well connected and worked his way up the totem pole with the Americana scene. So that's why, the House of Orange is sort of half old and half new material, because Mark's aim was just to come up with the strongest Americana-style album that we could do. So there was that, and also the fact that Mark really wanted, we wanted the top country players in the world, which we got, but we didn't want to do a country and western album. So as you would have noticed, it's more a rock album.
It is, yeah.
But, it's amazing because, it's got Dan Dugmore and really heavy hitters playing on it.
Well, as I said to you before, it's a beautiful album. I love it. I've got it at home now, and we play it regularly at home. It's a sensational sound. It really, really is good. What's the difference recording in Nashville to Australia?
Well, it's the difference between recording in Nashville and anywhere else, really.
Right.
Because sadly, there's hardly any recording studios anywhere in the world, and I end up being the object of so many young kids nowadays because they want to know how we used to record. You know, in other words, in that analog realm. So in Nashville, you're still in the studio with the whole band, and I'm singing with them, and which is how we did all those early records of mine. You know, like Goodbye Tiger was done in the same fashion. The only difference with Nashville is instead of using chord charts, they yell out numbers to each other. So that was pretty daunting if you're not used to it. So in other words, like I'd be sitting there singing along with this amazing band, and they'd be going, you know, 31 minor, and like, you know, 17 minor or whatever. And you know, sometimes I'd want to go, oh mate, if you could just tell me when we get to the A minor, that's where the chorus is. But
a bit off-putting, isn't it?
Yeah, but interestingly enough, I've found all the better Australian players do understand these Nashville charts.
Right.
So it's all it looks like a gridiron game.
Good God.
On paper.
So you don't hear about a C7 and A minor, it's just these number 17s in there.
Yeah.
Isn't that unusual? How did that come about, do you know?
Sorry, mate?
How was that invented? Who came up with that idea?
What, the numbers?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's been around for decades.
Has it really?
Yeah, long time.
Gee, you'd lose me, mate. You'd lose me totally if you did that. I'm used to A minors and, you know, G7s and that, but when you come across those numbers, it's a whole new life of learning, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. What's next for you, Richard?
Well, as I said, we start this tour.
Yep.
And
another CD?
I don't know about another CD just yet.
Yeah.
I probably will put something out next year, but what nature of album it'll be, I'm not sure. I haven't really given it much thought because, as I said, I'm
busy enough at the moment.
House of Orange, and
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's about it.
If I gave you 3 wishes, what would they be for?
Oh God, what is it? That old Frank Capra movie. What was Jimmy Stewart? You walk in and you go, I wish I had $1 million.
Yep. Okay, money. Yeah.
Geez, good question. And you got me stumped a bit there.
There you are. $1 million is number one. What's number 2?
Well, still to write my masterpiece.
Right.
But you know, but that's sort of what keeps me going because I just really want to, you know, get better with everything I do.
And number 3.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Oh,
$1 million, write a masterpiece.
$1 million, yeah, write a masterpiece. I don't know. I think just, you know, because look, my whole life's been pretty much music, so
yes,
I don't really have all that many aspirations for. So when you ask me, you know, my 3 wishes, it's a hard one.
We'll leave the third one open.
Music.
Okay, we'll leave it open. You come back to me some other time and tell me what the third one might be.
All right.
Richard, been a delight, mate. I know you're busy today.
Thank
Got
you.
another interview coming up. But thank you for your time, pal. Going to go out of here with one of the tracks from your CD called Here Inside of Me. So take care.
Fantastic.
Have a great tour, mate.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Congratulations.
Goodbye.